Dallas-Fort Worth has added more than 150,000 new residents between July of 2022 and July of 2023. And these numbers mean that Dallas-Fort Worth is maintaining its growth rate from during the pandemic of around 1.3% to 1.4%, and it's responsible for 1/3 of all new residents moving to the state of Texas. Now, Dallas-Fort Worth is the fastest growing metroplex in the country, and Dallas also broke past the 8 million residents in the metroplex with over 8.1 million residents today and growing. During this same time period, Dallas-Fort Worth also saw 154,000 jobs added to its economy, beat only by the city of New York, which is still recovering from its pre-pandemic highs, whereas the city of Dallas has long passed its pre-pandemic employment numbers. The continuous growth of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex can be attributed to favorable business conditions and available land for development. The location of Dallas-Fort Worth between both East and West Coasts also makes it a prime location for corporate headquarters, with the Dallas International Airport being one of the busiest in the country. As you can see with the growth drivers at work here in Dallas, we can expect this market to continue to grow faster than the rest of the country, with the word out that Dallas is the place to be. Some of Dallas's benefits are a double-edged sword. Where we do have perfect conditions for growth and an abundance of land and favorable conditions for building, that also means that the housing market will continue to remain competitive with plenty of new build opportunities available to new and existing residents alike. I anticipate that we will continue to see pricing growth in the housing market, but we will have a bifurcated market with some homes selling rapidly for top dollar while others sit on the market and struggle to find a buyer. We see this in the data now with a median detached home in the Dallas housing market selling for $379,000, which is 1.9% up from last year. But when looking at the average priced home, we are now up 6% to $469,000 from $442,000 last March. This means on average, larger homes are selling more frequently in the last year here in the Dallas housing market, while first-time home buyers are exiting the market and starter homes are selling less frequently than the year prior. And I'm going to be diving deep into these numbers and showing you how they shake out and what it means for the detached housing market here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and how you can take advantage of it both as a home buyer looking to enter the market here in Dallas and as a home seller if you're considering making a move here within the market or you're planning to exit the market altogether. I'm Corin Prendiville, your Dallas Realtor. If you're considering a move here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and you want to have a one-on-one conversation about your situation, go ahead and book a Zoom call with me today. I can answer any questions that you have, and we can see if working together makes sense for both of us. All of my contact information can be found in the description of the video below, so if you're planning a move later this year, please do reach out to me now so that we can get started and make sure that you're ready when it's time to buy or sell here in the Dallas-Fort Worth housing market. I always recommend you plan ahead, especially if you're selling in this market. It's important to properly prepare and market your home to get the most here in Dallas. Days on market is sitting at 25 days for detached homes, which means you're going to want to be ready to list your property around 2 months from your expected move date to give yourself time to find a buyer, locate a new property if necessary, and close on the date that you'd like to. It's also important that you know that inventory has been clawing its way up recently, which means if you want to remain competitive and get top dollar for your home, you need an expert who can provide guidance on how to prepare your property for sale. Price it right to make sure you net the most amount of money and market it to the widest possible audience. When it comes to the market as it stands today, we're currently at a turning point for the market, with total listings on the market spiking higher than they have since the pandemic and sold listings falling flat. It is going to be interesting to see where sales go as we head into the summer. And as you can see from this graph, new listings this month are at 14,300, which is about 2,000 more than this time last year, and even higher than new listings posted going as far back as 2019. At the same time, we also have sold listings the lowest they've been in 5 years at just under 8,800. And this is the first time since 2016 that we've had this few sales in the month of March. The crazy thing is back in 2016, we also only had a little under 15,000 homes for sale, which is half of what we currently have for sale in the market. This should read as a big yellow caution sign to anyone who's looking to make a move right now in Dallas-Fort Worth, as it appears that inventory is spiking while the buyer pool is simultaneously shrinking. So we talked about what homes are selling for in the Dallas area, but this chart I created using data from the Dallas MLS shows you exactly what's happening in the market right now with some rear view stats to compare it to. So right now we're just under that 8,800 homes sold in the month of March, which is down about 1,000 homes from previous Marches going all the way back to 2016, like I had said earlier. But the other big marker is seeing over 14,000 new listings hitting the market at the same time this March, which is up from the last year as well, and a major driver in us having about 28,000 new detached homes on the market here in Dallas-Fort Worth, which is the highest it has been since before the pandemic. Now, this again could just mean we're returning to a more normal market here in Dallas, as we are still below pre-pandemic inventory, which at the time was already a low inventory market. And there are a lot of signs that point to us returning to a healthy housing market that still overall has some inventory shortages. For example, we see days on market across Dallas are still just 25 days, which is actually down 5 days from last March, which is a good sign that we're not going to be heading more into a buyer's market right now. And our median price is up about $7,000 from last year, with our average price being up almost $30,000 from last year, which, as I said earlier, points to more larger home selling. And I actually added the data at the very bottom here because I think it could be useful to see how the market is reacting to the high interest rates. As you can see, the number of 1 to 3 bedroom detached homes sold in Dallas-Fort Worth versus the 4 bedroom or larger houses sold, the ratio is moving more toward the 4 bedroom houses, which means a lot of the market is being driven by growing families, such as people who are trying to upgrade because their families are growing larger and they need to support them, and high income earners who are buying properties that are larger than normal. We're seeing less entry level homes selling in this market, likely because interest rates are pricing would-be first time home buyers out of the market. And a lot of people who did buy 3 bedroom or 2 bedroom homes are sitting on those low interest rates and they can't really afford to move up in the market. Now, taking a look at my next chart, this one is some of the same data from the previous, but looking at it from year over year instead. First, you can see overall sales are down almost 6% from 2023 to just 101,293. And overall volume here in Dallas-Fort Worth is also down about $2 billion as well. New listings over the year are actually down slightly, but they did spike this March, so it remains to be seen what's going to happen going forward. And with that said, inventory is also up about 4,000 to 27,160, which is about a 16% increase from last year. For months of supply, we're up 0.7 months, bringing us directly into a balanced market. And our sales to list price ratio is down 2.2%, meaning sellers are more often getting less for their home than they originally list for. And I'm seeing that in my own business as well, where there are more opportunities for buyers to offer less than asking, requesting concessions and repairs, and more. But there are ways to avoid taking less than asking and even get more than asking, and a lot of it comes down to pricing the home competitively against the market, as well as marketing it better than the rest of the market to encourage buyers to get invested in the idea of owning your home. A major mistake sellers make is thinking that the price they ask for is the price that they're going to sell for. You see, the market ultimately dictates what your home will sell for, but you want to get the maximum exposure to the market to get yourself the best chance of finding the right buyer for your home. There's a lot of strategy that goes into pricing and marketing a home, so if you want to work together, feel free to reach out to me and I'd be happy to go over my strategy to help you sell your home for top dollar. And remember, the longer your home sits on the market, the more likely that you're going to get an offer below asking price. Now, if you want to know what your home is worth as a seller, I've got a link below to my website where you can request a no obligation home evaluation for your property, and I'll create a personally tailored market analysis for your home and email it to you so that you can get an accurate assessment of your home's current value. And I definitely encourage you to take advantage of this, whether you're considering selling in the near future or you just want to know what your home could be worth in today's market. And you don't have to worry, I'm not here to spam you with garbage to try to get you to sell your home. My goal is to be a resource for you to understand the housing market here in Dallas. So if you do decide to buy or sell sometime in the near future, you have the knowledge to make informed decisions. And when you're ready, if you want to work with me, you can just say so. Looking at this data further, you'll see that days on market for year over year in 2023 was just 15 days. And the reason that this is so different than what days on market in March of 2023 was, is because we were looking back 12 months from March of 2023 to get that number of 15 days. So coming out of the pandemic, we saw days on market begin to go back up from the extreme lows of 6, 7, and 8 days on market. And over the course of just 1 year before it started settling around the mid-20s, which is where we're at now. Realistically, it's more important that you pay attention to the fact that we were at 30 days on market last March and we're now at 25 days on market this March. It's just a little bit of a statistical anomaly that you find in these data points sometimes. Now, the last thing I'd like to point out here again is the 1 to 3 bedrooms versus the 4 bedroom statistic. And you can see that we had nearly an 11% drop in the sale of 1 to 3 bedroom detached homes over the last year, but we only had a 1.8% drop off in the 4 bedrooms or higher homes. So the sector is surprisingly getting hit the worst due to this high interest rate environment is actually first-time home buyers and people looking to buy their starter homes, things like that. I guess you could also put investors in that marker if you put 1 to 3 bedrooms in there, because a lot of investors are probably buying 1 to 3 bedroom houses. Now, this actually does present a great opportunity if you can afford to get into a 3 bedroom house, and that is what you're looking for, because we're seeing a slower pricing growth in those 3 bedroom homes than we're seeing in the larger homes right now. And I anticipate once those rates do drop, you're going to see the sales of those 1 to 3 bedroom houses spike up again as those first time home buyers re-enter the market and they drive the prices and the activity up for these houses. Unfortunately, I think first-time home buyers are the ones who are most likely to be scared of the market because they don't have equity in the market already, and they're not very familiar with how home buying or home selling works. It's also really easy for first-time home buyers to get caught up in the idea that the housing market's going to tank, but there's no evidence to suggest that that's coming anytime soon. This is just another reason why, if you're someone in a position that you can afford to buy now, that it's better to get in while demand is lower and get a good deal than it is to wait until everyone else is competing for that limited inventory that we have. Okay, so our last chart that we're going to be looking at today shows some data broken down by the major counties here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I've included Rockwall County as well, which is one of the smaller counties, but I work with clients in that area, so I figured I'd include it. And if you'd like to let me know what county you live in or you're considering moving to, I'm curious to know what my viewers are most interested in. Is it one of the 5 counties that we're about to go over, or is it one not included on this list? And here's a map of all the counties that are part of the DFW Metroplex, and you can see why I don't necessarily include every single county around the DFW Metroplex, because it's quite a bit. But these are the major ones and where most of the activity happens. So let me know what county you're most interested in down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what kind of data you'd like to know about. And I do work with clients throughout the DFW Metroplex, and I recently helped a client buy in Ellis County as an example. So whatever county you're in, I'd be happy to help you. And my main stomping ground is Denton and Collin County, as I live right between the two of them, but I do work everywhere here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market to help my clients find the right home for them. So getting back to this chart, we have sales broken down by county as well as new listings, so you can see inventory is moving the most in Tarrant County right now, with about 71% sales to new listings ratio. And a lot of these homes are actually 1 to 3 bedrooms here in Tarrant County, and that's going to be the Fort Worth area and the surrounding suburbs. Price growth here has remained relatively flat. On the other hand, Dallas County has seen a little bit lower sales to new listings ratio, but a more even split of 1 to 3 bedroom and 4 bedroom homes sold, and its year-over-year median price is up sharply, almost 10%. I think in Dallas especially, you are seeing a shift toward larger homes selling more frequently than they did before, with higher priced homes going fast and not as much affordable inventory moving in the market. Now, when it comes to Denton, Collin, and Rockwall County, you can see a lot more 4+ bedroom homes for sale, these being areas that have more new developments in Dallas and Tarrant counties. What's interesting is Collin County is the only county that's seen a drop in its median price year over year. And I mentioned it before, but I think a lot of this is driven by the fact that Collin County is a home to a lot of new developments out in Anna, Melissa, and Salina, which is where new home builds are prevalent, and you are seeing some price drops over the last few years for new build construction because they have to remain competitive and unload that new inventory quickly as they finish it. And we also saw a 2% drop in home prices in Frisco in the last year, which I think is a result of some of that pandemic hype wearing off and wealthier residents moving up to Prosper, which happened to see a 2.3% increase in the median homes over the last year. So it's kind of correlated. In the long run, I do think Collin County is a driving force for growth here in Dallas-Fort Worth, which means with some of these price drops here in Collin County, now is a pretty good time to look at buying in the North Dallas area. Looking at Rockwall County, you can see that this county is a much smaller county with only 181 sales in March, and it's a slower moving market with a 3.6 month supply of inventory. But pricing growth in Rockwall County remains strong at 3.7% over the last year. Now, going back to the interest rates that we touched on earlier, I have heard an interesting argument from Ken McElroy, which if you don't watch his channel and you're interested in learning more about the housing market and especially commercial real estate, you should definitely check his stuff out. But basically the thinking goes that the Fed's holding the rates where they are may actually be contributing to inflation, as higher rates have reduced new build activity and are preventing existing homeowners from letting go of existing properties. Evidence to suggest this includes the core inflation for housing. As you can see in this graph, it outpaces the overall inflation in the economy at this point, and is actually spiking upward now rather than trending downward. High interest rates also indirectly drive rents up due to the lack of inventory entering the market. Elevated rates, therefore, are impacting the supply side of the housing equation by reducing new supply, and this will carry housing inflation up even if rates remain high. And in this chart, you can see that as of 2022, we still had a 3.2 million shortage of housing units here in the United States, which has likely only gotten worse in the last 2 years. As you can see in this graph showing housing completions by year, we have in the red the single family housing, which was slowing in 22. 2 to 4 unit is in blue, which is non-existent, and 5+ unit being larger rental units spiked in 2022, but reports indicate that completions after 2024 for multifamily are going to be slowing significantly due to the rates increasing in 2022. So ultimately, at this point, continuing to keep rates elevated will have a double-edged effect where it may drive down inflation and other aspects of the core inflation, but it's going to be driving up housing costs as it keeps builders out of building new units. Now in this last chart, you can see that our population is still increasing by 5 to 8% annually over the next decade. And if we go back to the housing completions by year, you can see that we had this massive drop off in the housing completed since 2008 recession that still hasn't recovered to those pre-2008 levels. And we've had a shortage of inventory while our population has gone from 300 million people to more than 330 million people. And as you can see from the graph showing single-family homes, we were already slumping in the creation of new single-family homes at a time when millennials are looking to start families. And when we consider the demographics, we're likely to continue to see especially a single-family home shortage here in America for years to come. And these higher interest rates actually exacerbate the problem. So to sum up the idea, by keeping interest rates high for much longer, we're actually causing more of a housing shortage, which inevitably is going to cause single-family homes especially to continue to go up in value. The main reason being that single-family homes are primarily driven by supply and demand principles and not by income-producing principles like commercial multifamily real estate is. And this all leads us into the situation we're at today with the Fed, which was previously signaling that 3 rate cuts before the end of the year was going to happen. But there's now talk that they may delay those cuts or possibly cancel them altogether until 2025, with higher than expected inflation and a fear of risking a flare-up in inflation if they cut too early. Most financial analysts and bankers are still expecting the Fed to do 1 or 2 rate cuts per year, possibly in September and December, or simply one in November, but the likelihood of no rate cuts until 2025 is becoming even more likely each month, so it's something to keep an eye on. But I'm curious what you think the Fed's going to do. Do you see 3 rate cuts this year, maybe just 1 or 2, or do you think we won't see any until at least 2025 at this point? Let me know in the comments. I've given up guessing myself what the Fed's planning to do at this point. I will say, if you are someone who's buying or has bought a home with the expectation that rates are going to drop, I never recommend buying a home with the anticipation of rates going the direction you want them to, but it's looking like we probably won't see substantial rate cuts for at least another year, possibly longer. And even if we do see some marginal rate cuts later this year, I don't see rates going lower than 5 or 5.5% for the foreseeable future. My recommendation, if you're looking to buy a home, is to find something that's within your means with where the rates are today, and if they end up going down, you'll have a happy surprise in the future when they drop and you can refinance that lower rate. Ultimately, the Fed is in a pickle here, balancing between keeping the market from overheating but allowing room for the economy to grow as well. And higher rates do risk causing housing inflation by stifling new supply, which is the #1 reason we have had runaway housing costs in recent years because of a lack of building after the 2008 financial crisis. I personally think we will continue to see a slow but steady growth in the detached housing market here in Dallas due to the constrained supply, but I will be the first to admit there is a real possibility of us seeing some slight declines in the housing market temporarily if more homeowners do decide to list their homes and inventory begins to outpace sales in the medium term. But keep in mind, we are still several months away from entering what one would consider to be a buyer's market and are currently sitting at 3.3 months of supply of inventory in the detached housing market. We need 6 months supply before we even hit a buyer's market. This is the first time since before the pandemic that we have seen numbers like these, and there's no way of telling how the market's going to go moving forward. One school of thought is that we're equalizing out to a normalized market, and we're going to be hovering around that 3 to 5 months of inventory marker and see flat growth from here on for the foreseeable future. While another school of thought is that this is just the beginning of an ever-increasing inventory where sellers decide to cash out while the iron's hot and enter the renter market while rents are cheaper than the current mortgage rates for those buying today. And the problem with the second school of thought is that most people who would be able or willing to cash out are currently sitting on 3% interest rates on their mortgages, or they own their homes outright, meaning there's little to no incentive to sell now. Housing affordability is worse than it's ever been for people who are trying to enter the market today with the rates where they are, which is why I don't see us going too much longer with these elevated rates. As it stands, we will continue to lock new homeowners out of the market while also disincentivizing builders from adding to the supply. Now, if you are a homeowner who is thinking about possibly cashing out while prices remain high and before inventory goes up too much further, I think this is a worthwhile consideration under very specific circumstances. First, if you are considering a major downsize that would put you in a position of buying a smaller house for all cash, or you're moving to a more affordable market, such as selling a home in California and taking the proceeds to buy a house all cash or mostly cash here in Dallas-Fort Worth. Those are good strategies. You might also be considering an exit here in Dallas and maybe moving to a Midwest market or moving further from the Metroplex for more affordable living, perhaps even downsizing within the market. In any case, you'll want to do the calculations on what kind of home you would want to own, where you'd want to live, and how much equity you currently have. The untapped equity in your house today has no functional use without you selling. Especially with interest rates as high as they are, you can't effectively utilize HELOCs or cash out refinances like you could a few years ago. However, the strategy of moving locations to tap equity and utilizing additional equity for retirement, to add to investment accounts, or to purchase a second property as an investment property is a very strong option in today's market. I myself sold my house with my wife in 2018. We lived in Seattle at the time, and we sold our personal residence, taking nearly $1 million of equity and moving it to Dallas-Fort Worth to purchase a beautiful home here in Dallas for a fraction of the cost of what a home in Seattle is. And we reinvested the rest of that equity into rentals here in Dallas. The numbers don't look as good as they did back in 2018, with the Dallas housing market having grown from a median priced home of just $254,000 in April of 2018 to $379,000 today. But the strategy is just as sound, especially if you're concerned about the economic landscape of where you're coming from. Dallas continues to be a very favorable location for business, and that is going to be a driver for economic growth here for many years to come. And Dallas-Fort Worth is actually one of the youngest metroplexes in the country, which means there's a lot of upside here in Dallas as the millennials and Gen Z continue to expand within the workforce. For those of you who are thinking of exiting the housing market completely and renting for a period of time, I do want to caution against this. The risks to this include you might find it hard to re-enter the housing market in the future if you end up spending all of the equity and home prices continue to go up. And while it's likely home prices will only go up slightly each year for at least a while, a 2 to 5% growth year over year can add up quickly and price you out of the market in the future. I know many people who sold their homes back in the 2016 to 2018 and ended up becoming renters with the intention of re-entering the housing market when the housing market crashed, only to find that the prices never ended up dropping, and now they're unable to afford to re-enter the market today with the prices as they are. So if you want to talk strategy and you're considering making a move, whether relocating here to Dallas, downsizing, upsizing, or otherwise, go ahead and schedule a Zoom call with me today and we can see what makes the most sense for your situation. And I want to thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content just like this, and like the video so that more people can find it as well. Have a good one.